88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
Port Republic, Atlantic City, and now on FM Translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City, Pleasantville. Tune in to Kingdom Conversations with Reverend Collins A. Days of Second Baptist Church of Atlantic City, Mondays at 5 p.m. right here on 88.7 FM and 100.3 FM WEHA. And check out the video on demand on our Facebook page and YouTube page. We have gospel. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily those of WEHA, Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM. We Have Gospel, Spread the Gospel Inc., or any of its sponsors. WEHA is a listener-supported radio station. To make a donation, call 609-641-8870. Visit our headquarters at 3 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234. Or log on to our website, wehavegospel.com.
We have gospel.
Good morning and welcome to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. I'm your guest host today, Jared L. Thomas, aka Professor J. And today we're going to be having some conversations about AI, which I know some of you are tired of it, some of you don't know what it is. But today we're going to find out what it is, if we should be tired of it, and if it's going anywhere. But before we start that, we have some announcements. The Atlantic Hair Institute, in partnership with the Cleveland Clinic for Cancer Institute, is going to be doing a lung cancer screening event. Join us at the Egg Harbor Township Health Park for a lung cancer screening at no cost. Now, who should go? Well, if you're 50, if you're between the ages of 50 and 80, or smoker, or quit smoking in the last 15 years, a low-dose CT screening may be the right choice for you. Screening saves lives. A low-dose CT screening can detect lung cancer early when it's most treatable. So, when is it? It's Saturday, April 18th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It includes complimentary breakfast and giveaways. For more information or to make an appointment, please call 609-677-5763. That's right, for more information or to make an appointment, please call 609-677-5763. And in other news, don't miss the Dream Big Masterclass, a music industry lecture and creative workshop on April 22nd, 2026 from it's a Wednesday, and that's from 5 to 7, and it will be held at the Carnegie Library Center at 35 South Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, Atlantic City, New Jersey. Music production, songwriting, creative ownership, and a free music workshop. It will be presented by Luke Witherspoon, Grammy-nominated producer, with the special guest lecturer Zion Marley. Be sure to check out the Dream Big Masterclass. And one more announcement: the Westminster Center Food Distribution is at 2015 Morningside Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey, every fourth Wednesday of the month between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. So the next one coming up is April 22nd, and so that's in a few weeks, and then May 27th. Again, it's every fourth Wednesday of the month. For more information, the information is also on Dr. Thelma's community page. And so that does it for announcements for today. Let's get into our topic. We're talking about artificial intelligence today. And if you have any questions or concerns about AI, be sure to leave them in the comments. I will be checking in sporadically for the comments. So the first question is, what is artificial intelligence? Well, there's an article on Science News today that I think does a pretty good job of doing a great introduction to it. Right, so if you want to check out that article, I will link it in the comments later on after the show. But the origin of artificial intelligence. The idea of creating intelligent machines did not just suddenly appear over the digital age. For centuries, humans have been imagining mechanical devices that could mimic thought. Philosophers once debated whether intelligence could exist outside of the human mind, while inventors built early mechanical automaton that could perform simple actions. So, artificial intelligence, often abbreviated as AI, is not a single invention. It is a vast collection of ideas, techniques designed to help machines perform tasks, typically that require human intelligence. These tasks can include understanding language, recognizing pattern, and solving problems, making predictions, and learning from experience. At its core, artificial intelligence works by allowing humans to learn patterns from data and use those patterns to make decisions. Just as humans learn by observing the world and remembering past experience, AI systems analyze enormous amounts of information and gradually improve their performance. Understanding how the processes work requires the exploration into history, principles, and technology that make artificial intelligence possible. Now, that's a mouthful, but what are we saying here? We're basically saying that just like our brains are pattern recognition tools, that the artificial intelligence that we have today is no more than another pattern recognition tool. But as we say in computer science, garbage in, garbage out. So depending on the data that's going into these trainings for the artificial intelligence, it might not actually be that intelligent, but we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, let's go back. When do you think the phrase artificial intelligence first came out? I know a lot of you probably only just heard about it in the last 6 years or so. Or maybe, if you're a nerd like me, you heard it on sci-fi shows like Star Trek or Doctor Who. But the term artificial intelligence was first coined in the 1950s by the British and computer scientist Alan Turing. See, he proposed a famous thought experiment, it's now known as the Turing test. He suggested that if a machine could carry on a conversation indistinguishable from a human's, it might reasonably be considered intelligent. Turing's idea laid the philosophical foundation for AI research. Now, the field itself formally began in 1956 at a workshop organized by America's computer scientist John McCarthy. Now, McCarthy coined the term artificial intelligence, defining it as a science and engineering of making intelligent machines. Early researchers believed that building thinking machines might only take a few decades, and honestly, with that being 1956 and this being 2026, they weren't far off, right? Now, the process turned out to be a little bit slower than they expected, but the dream persisted. Over the following decades, advances in computing and mathematics and data gradually transformed AI from a theoretical concept into a practical technology shaping the modern world. Now, to understand artificial intelligence, we must first think about intelligence itself. Human intelligence involves many abilities. We learn from our experience, we recognize patterns, we solve problems, understand language, and adapt to new situations, and make decisions under uncertainty, right? So you might not have all the information before you make a decision, right? Now, artificial intelligence attempts, keyword, attempts to reproduce some of these abilities. In machines, however, AI systems do not think or understand the world in the same way humans do. They simply can't. Not yet. Hopefully never, right? They rely on mathematical models and computational processes that allow them to detect patterns in data and respond accordingly. So what does that mean? It just means they have a whole bunch of data that they can form a pattern from. And again, garbage in, garbage out. You get good data in, you get good data out. But again, right now AI is learning from the internet. And if you've been on the internet as long as I have, you'll know that not everyone on the internet is brilliant. Not everyone on the internet is correct. And because of that, AI does have a tendency to what we call hallucinate. That's when, you put in your prompt, you ask AI a question, and it answers it with confidence, and it's confidently incorrect. So, for example, in Atlantic County, I was driving with a friend. I asked them to pull out their phone, and I want to show you something about AI. They're like, okay, ask Google who the mayor of Mays Landing is, right? They asked who the mayor of Mays Landing is, and this was some months ago, so I'm sure Google has fixed it by now. But we asked the Google AI overview who the mayor of Atlantic City is, and it said the correct name, but it had the wrong photo. It had a photo of our wonderful mayor of Atlantic City, Mayor Marty Small, who's in fact not the mayor of Mays Landing. So AI can, it can confuse data, it can mix things up, and said it had the right name, wrong photo, right? And that's a small case, right? Another use case of AI just getting things a little bit wrong. I have a business. It's called After Image Revolution. We specialize in website design and social media management. I have been finding this for a while, but if you Google my business's name, After Image Revolution, the AI overview tells you a lot of great information about my business. However, it also tells you a bit of information about a video game called After Image, which I don't play. And honestly, it gets the information a little get jumbled at the end. But, I'm going to continue to put more data out there until the AI can correct itself. And see, that's the thing about this artificial intelligence. It's not actually intelligent. It mimics intelligence. And what's the best way to put this? If you have a child or grandchild or even a kid in your life, and they are old enough to read, and they're old enough to read fluently, you could give them a script detailing one of your experiences from the 90s. Now, given if this is a child, they were not there in the 90s, but that won't stop them from being able to read your experience. Now, they themselves do not have that experience, right? Likewise, I could read something from the 1960s, and I could read it as if I was there, but I was not. I was not there. I have no memories of it. Similarly, the AI is just doing that, but on a much, much larger scale. Now, when we talk about how it's doing that, right, let's compare it to humans. So, for example, when a person learns to recognize a cat, they build what's called an internal concept based off of seeing many different cats. You see your little kid, you know what a cat is, you look at it, you're like, oh, a cat, right? You get a 5-year-old, they might see a tiger, they might still say cat. You get an adult, they see a tiger, and they're going to go, a tiger, right? But an AI system performs a similar task, but different. An AI system is given thousands and thousands and millions of images of a cat labeled cat. It identifies statistical patterns in shape, color, and texture, and then that frequently appear in pictures of cats. Over time, it learns to classify new images as either cat or not a cat, right? And so when an AI is thinking, it's not actually thinking, it's looking at something and saying, is this a cat? Okay, it's not a cat. Is this a dog? Okay, it's not a dog. Is that a bear? Yep, that is a bear. So it doesn't actually have the same sort of like internal thought process that we have that's fueled by, our bodies and the food we consume and, just the energy going to our minds. Instead, it uses electricity, it uses fuel, right? And so that fuel is in two categories. We have the data and we have the energy. Lots and lots of energy. So much energy, in fact, that many AI lobbyists are trying to reopen nuclear power centers so that they can power these AI. They're trying to give these data centers enough energy. And enough energy for a data center is also enough energy to power a city. I want you to think about that. Just sit with that for a second. The data centers that we, quote unquote, need require the same amount of energy as an entire city. Now, when cities create their energy, right, they create energy based off of max use, right? So if your city needs this much energy to power a home, with everyone have their lights on, that's the calculation they're going to use to produce the energy. That's called peak usage. When you put an AI data center in a city, that peak usage goes up, and the amount of energy they need to produce goes up. But that ends up affecting us, and we'll get into that a little bit later, right? But back to the data, right? So artificial intelligence cannot function without data. Data is raw material from which AI systems learn. Every photograph uploaded to the internet, every sentence written in a document, every transaction recorded by a bank, and every sensor reading collected by a device that generates data. Modern digital life produces extraordinary qualities of information, and AI systems rely on this abundance. When engineers train an AI system, they feed it large data sets that contain examples of the task it must learn. If a goal is language translation, then guess what? It's going to get millions of sentences paired with millions of translations. If the goal is medical diagnosis, the data set might contain medical images labeled with known conditions. Keyword known. AI can't know things that are completely unknown, right? It can guess really good, but it cannot know, right? And so by analyzing these examples, the AI gradually identifies patterns, keyword, patterns, that allow it to perform the task independently. The quality of the data matters enormously. If the data is incomplete, biased, or inaccurate, the AI system may learn misleading patterns. In this sense, artificial intelligence reflects the data it's trained on. Good data leads to better performance. When AI first became part of the public consciousness, I was doing a lot of tests just to see what it would do and what it wouldn't do. Now, as an African American myself, I was curious of what AI thought AAVE is, or African Vernacular English, or Ebonics, to those of you who prefer that term. And I was curious how it might translate something into, the way that we phrase things. And I was extremely disappointed when it first came out to find that it was, how to put it, it wrote as eloquently as Mark Twain, but also wrote as if it was from that same time period, using outdated caricatures and slurs in a way that was unbecoming of a script that I would have wrote as a human. Now, since that time, many people have given the AI feedback like, hey, don't do that, and it's gotten better at not doing that. But still, any single bias that we have in our society, it's in the AI. Any single negative thoughts or perception, it's there. Sure, all of our greatest ideas, it's read the collections of everything from Shakespeare to John Green. It has all of that. It has the Bible, but it also has like that guy or girl you've seen on Facebook who doesn't know what they're talking about and just keeps typing away. AI has a lot of data, and not all of it's good. So if you're using it, make sure that you are aware that it hallucinates, that it doesn't always know what it's talking about, that it's likely to make a mistake. In fact, a lot of people are treating AI like an expert. I always say you should treat it like an intern, an artificial intern, because at the end of the day, it does know some things, and it knows some things that you don't know, but ultimately, it's trying to learn from you. Every time you see a prompt and it says, hey, would you like to see yourself snowboarding? And you put your face in and then it shows you a picture of of you snowboarding. You taught it something. You taught it how to make you. Every time you give it a sentence to say, how would you phrase this, right? You teach it how to talk like you. So this, any energy that you're putting into AI isn't energy that you're getting back, right? You're just adding to this collective unknown consciousness that isn't necessarily a living thing, right? But in a sense is a living document of all of humanity. And if you wouldn't trust 1,000 random people with it, don't trust AI, okay? So, for example, you have a personal problem, talk to a therapist, talk to your pastor, talk to a close friend. You would not talk to 1,000 strangers. You wouldn't go to the lines in the airport and say, hey guys, I have a problem. Can you answer this problem for me? You wouldn't do that. Don't do that with AI. Now, AI is a fantastic tool for organizing data. Don't get me wrong. It definitely can do a lot. If you give it a list of names, you say put these in alphabetical order, boom, has it. Now you're still going to want to double check because it does still tend to get it wrong sometimes for some reason. It even gets math wrong sometimes. If you give it a list of numbers and tell it to add them, sometimes it rounds up, just like you might expect an intern to do. So what are you going to do if you need to do math? You know, grab pencil and paper, grab a calculator, and if you're old school, grab an abacus. But I would leave the AI stuff more towards organization, because you see, AI doesn't think, uses what's called an algorithm. Now, because data alone isn't enough to create intelligence, AI systems also require algorithms, which are a set of mathematical instructions that tell a computer how to process information, right? An algorithm is essentially a procedure for solving a problem, step by step. In artificial intelligence, algorithms determine how a system learns from data, how it makes predictions or decisions. For example, imagine teaching a machine to distinguish between spam and legitimate email message. The algorithm might examine the characteristics such as words in that message, the sender's address, the structure of the text. By comparing thousands and thousands of spam and non-spam messages, the algorithm learns which patterns are most likely associated with which category. Once trained, the system can analyze new messages and estimate the probability of them being spam. But here's the thing, there's that word again, probability. How often have you been checking your email and someone said, I sent you something, and you check your email, it's not there, it's in the spam folder. The algorithm falsely marked it as spam, right? AI makes these type of mistakes. I recently heard a story about a AI being used for processing cam footage from arrest data, right? And the AI just kind of listens to the words and writes a script about what happened. Well, one of the AIs had announced that the suspect was apprehended, but then suddenly turned into a frog, and then, after turning into a frog, proceeded to hop away. Now, that clearly did not happen, and that's an obvious mistake. But why did the AI make that mistake? Well, because Princess and the Frog was in the background. The background of the arrest, someone was playing the Disney movie Princess and the Frog, and the AI conflated the background for the part it was supposed to be focusing on. Now, of course, with time, stuff like that can be filtered out, but that's an easy one to catch. That's an easy one to catch. What happens when a word is slurred or said incorrectly, right? What happens when a tongue twister is said and someone says something that they did not mean to say? Can the AI identify its own mistakes? No. When decisions need to be made, humans should always be at the heart of those decisions. Because no matter how good your algorithm is, it's still just a pattern. And life isn't a series of patterns. It is a series of patterns. But those patterns are more complex than the human mind can fathom, and more complex than AI can computate. See, different AI use different mathematical approaches. Some rely on probability theory, others on optimization techniques, and on others they use statistical models. But here's the thing, you don't know how accurate that's going to be, right? Now, when we get back from the break, which we're going to take a break at 5 minutes, we actually do have a special video that we're going to play. It features Hank Green interviewing Bernie Sanders on some of the legislation that is being proposed for AI, which is both an amazing technology, but a disruptive one. And what do I mean by disruptive technology? Well, how to put this? When the horseless carriage or car or automobile was invented, there weren't a lot of people on the road. But as more people got on the road, more accidents started to occur. We didn't have rules or regulations for what to do about these horseless carriages, right? You had people dying because there weren't seatbelts, there weren't traffic lights. None of that existed because we didn't need it, so we didn't invent it. Often, we don't solve problems until they are problems. Now, with AI being theorized for many years, there's been people who have proposed solutions to the time we're in now, but history will tell you that most of the time the people who find the solution before there's a problem are not heard. And it's only after later that we start going into the problem that we get into the solution. You know, and it's just interesting to me that things like safety aren't the first things we think about. We usually think about, you know, how can this make me money? How can this make my life easier? How can this change my business? And the truth is, it can do all of those things, but at what cost, right? We talked about the data center, right? We talked about the fact that they require energy. Well, that energy has to come from somewhere, and not only that, they also require water. Yeah, no, I know what you're thinking. Why does a machine need water? Well, if you ever use a laptop and you've sat on your lap and you've worked for a couple hours, you notice the laptop gets warm. And the laptop gets warm from you using Google Docs and playing Candy Crush or going on Facebook. Imagine how hot a data center must get from the billions of questions people are asking it every minute. Well, they need to cool it down some way, and most of the time they're going to cool it down with water, which then later can lead to pollution problems, which we might get into if I'm brought back another time, right? And so there are environmental concerns. And let's say you don't care about the environment. Let's say that's not your problem. You don't care about any of that. Well, there's also the fact that neural networks, right, which are what AIs use, they're faulty, but they change the way that our brains work. As you use AI, you slowly adapt to the pattern that the AI gives you, as opposed to the AI adapting to you. There's been numerous cases of people developing what's called AI psychosis, meaning that they are starting to believe the reality of what the machine told them to believe. And I know you're thinking, that can't happen to you, that can't happen to me. Well, it's slow, it's over time. The AI is a mirror to what you want it to say. Even if you tell it not to be biased, it's designed to keep you using it, right? We're at, in terms of AI, right, ChatGPT is to AI what MySpace was to social media. We're at the very start of it. We understand that there's a danger. We are giving some warnings, but at the same time, we do not completely know how to stop it. And with that, we are going to have to continue to try to figure it out, one step at a time. We can propose legislation. We can propose ways of using it fairly or without problems. But at the end of the day, it's a very, very big disruptive technology. And if you have a child, you know, they probably already are using it. AI is built into our Instagrams, our Facebooks, Snapchat now, Google, even your web browser. If you're using Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome, Firefox, they all have AI integrations, Copilot, AI is everywhere. And it's a tool that can be useful, but can make some serious mistakes. We have had several cases of people leaving their child unattended with AI, and they thought the AI was safe and had safety guards, and then the AI started asking questions that you would not want it to ask. It started going in directions that the children weren't ready for. And why did it do that? Because again, AI is built on data. And where does that data come from? It comes from all over the internet. All over the internet. Every stranger, every individual who's on there. And sure, there's a filtering process, but they don't catch everything. Every once in a while, the AI slips up and it says something that you would not want it to say, but they don't want it to say. But we'll get back to that more after our break, when we have the interview between Hank Green and Bernie Sanders. You're listening to In the Community on Gospel 88.7 FM, WEHA. We Have Gospel. And you can also visit us at wehavegospel.com. And I'm Professor J, aka, well, backwards, I'm Jared L. Thomas, aka Professor J, and I will talk to you guys after the break.
Would you like to hear your company or church announcements or church broadcast on the airwaves of WHA? You can call our business office at 609-641-8870 for further details.
You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety
Hawks
Administration.
Janitorial Contractors Corp. was established in 1987 by husband and wife team William and Elaine Hawks. Our motto is a great job at a fair price. The Hawks team is skillful, customer-focused, delivering quality janitorial services that meet and exceed our clients' specific needs. Hawks Janitorial Contractors Corp. Proud sponsors of Gospel 88.7 FM. For more information, 609-484-0452.
What if I could tell you when an earthquake would hit? Unfortunately, I can't. But shouldn't you be ready anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait.
Please join the Atlantic City branch of the NAACP every Tuesday from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. for your NAACP Speaks, hosted by Branch President Kaleem Shabazz, right here on Gospel 88.7 and 100.3 FM, WEHA.
Mark your calendars for a heartwarming celebration this Mother's Day.
Join us on Saturday, May 9th at 11 a.m. for the annual WEHA Mother's Day Brunch.
Held at Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. This year, we are thrilled to have Lady Praise as our fabulous host, bringing her energy and warmth to make this event unforgettable.
And that's not all. Our inspirational keynote speaker will be Dr. Patrice Dawson.
She will uplift and inspire us all with her powerful message. Gather your family and friends to honor the incredible mothers in our lives with good food, special musical guests, great company, and a beautiful atmosphere.
Tickets are going fast at $30 for adults and $15 for ages 12 and under. So get yours today.
For more information and to get your tickets, visit our Facebook page or our website or call us at 609-641-8870, extension 2.
And we are back. And thank you all to all of our sponsors, including all of you who helped during our donation campaign. Thanks to you, we are now back on the air on 88.7 FM and 100.3. Donations from listeners like you keep this beautiful radio station going. And don't forget that you can always continue to support this radio station by going to wehavegospel.com. You can also support us on PayPal at PayPal and Cash App, $ We Have Gospel. Honestly, if you're looking for us, We Have Gospel, and if you want to find us, that's what you type in, We Have Gospel. This show is brought to you by Hawks Janitorial and listeners like you. Now, when we last left off, we were talking a little bit about AI and the way in which it can be seen as both a positive technology, but also an invasive one. So we are going to cut to an interview, and when we get back, we'll close out the show. But we're going to cut to an interview with with Hank Green and Senator Bernie Sanders, and we'll be right back after that.
Different potential impacts in a lot of different directions, and they're all very shrouded and unclear. Some people think that it's not that big of a deal. Some people think humanity is about to end. Clearly, you have some level of concern here. Since we're not going to talk about all of the concerns that you have, I was wondering if you could give me like your top number one Bernie Sanders concern about AI.
Well, first of all, I think the point you just made is correct. This thing is moving so fast, and it is so consequential that nobody can tell you what is going to happen exactly.
Yeah.
But I think the first point to be made is that the AI robotics revolution will be far more consequential and moving faster than any economic revolution in the history of humanity. It will make the Industrial Revolution seem kind of insignificant. You're asking me what my concerns are. Well, I start off with the concern that I don't trust the multi-billionaires who are pushing AI and robotics. We're talking about the wealthiest people in the world: Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Ellison, Thiel, and others. And the very first question, I think, Hank, that we've got to ask ourselves is, what is their goal? What is their goal? And the answer is pretty obvious. They're not staying up nights worrying about working families or what the impact on the average American will be from this revolution. They want more wealth. They want more power. That concerns me very much.
They also want to live forever, is the other thing that they...
Oh, now you raise a whole other issue, actually.
They think that they may be buying themselves perpetual power forever through all eternity.
That is a whole other issue. Maybe we get into another. You're in the crazy world, but there's truth to what you're saying. I mean, you hear people like Musk himself saying that, AI and robotics is going to wipe out all work, all jobs. So what the hell happens to millions of people who no longer have work or can't find other jobs? What happens if people are not paying taxes? There is no Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. What happens if there is no government? Which, by the way, gets to your point about the vision of some of these guys. But that's another story. And then the other issue out there that worries me very much, and I've talked to people like Jeffrey Hinton and others. Jeffrey Hinton is considered to be one of the godfathers of AI, a guy who helped create the technology. He worries that within a few years, AI will become smarter than human beings, may in fact disassociate itself from human control with potentially cataclysmic impacts on humanity, including the survival of the human race. Other than that, not a big deal.
Hinton's what they call P-doom, because of course they have to shorten the idea of the apocalypse to something that sounds vaguely computer programmery is like 10 to 20%. He says that there's a 10 to 20% chance that it wipes us out, which I don't know. That seems. It seems to me like the thing to focus on are the things that we can see with a little more clarity, which you outlined some good versions of. I hear some people saying, you don't want to, like, if you believe in this, you're believing their, like, their hype machine. They're just trying to sell investors on the power of their technology by sort of mixing together some amount of all jobs are going to go away, and also maybe it will turn us into paperclips. But you shake your head at that.
Look, I think the evidence is very clear. This is an explosive, transformational technology. I mean, I don't think anyone doubts that. I mean, there are people who disagree as to how quickly it transforms the economy, how many jobs will be lost next year or in 5 years. But I don't think anyone doubts the enormous impact that this is going to have on human society. And the reason I got involved in it is I look at my colleagues in the Senate and the House, and I say, all right, you mentioned, well, maybe it's only a 10% chance that humanity will be wiped out. Hey, what's the problem? You might want to be saying, excuse me, that's a little bit too high. Let's slow it up. Let's figure out how we can use AI to benefit humanity, not to wipe it out. What has bothered me is how slow-moving the Congress has been, and a lot of that has to do with the enormous amount of campaign contributions and the economic and the political power that the AI industry has.
There's so much power there. There's so much money there. But you bring up benefit. I think that you don't get enough credit for this, for like a version of Bernie Sanders that I hear pretty clearly. I've never felt like you think that America should like stop where it is and just like, okay, we did it, everybody, we did America, now let's just redistribute so that everybody has like a more equal share of the stuff that we have right now. I've never heard, like, people attribute that to you, and I never have heard it from you. You seem to be a guy who thinks that we need less inequality and also a lot of progress. That, like, those things are not mutually exclusive.
Hank,
we could do these things better.
But then the question is, that's what I believe, let's have that debate about what is progress.
Yeah.
Progress,
some people think that progress is, if it's not making me a billionaire more likely to live forever, then that's not progress.
Or progress is, hey, the good news, we've developed a technology that can take away your job and the job of tens of millions of people. Wow, how progressive is that? Well, unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen to the people who no longer have jobs or income. So having that discussion, what you're essentially saying, what kind of world do you want to live in?
There is a balance here, right? Like, if you banned lawn mowing.
Whoa, what's that?
And so you can see the beginning of that conversation. If you want to watch the end of it, you can go on YouTube on Hank Green's YouTube channel. And so the conversation continues, and they continue to talk about just what legislation can be done for AI, what legislation can be changed to make sure that we have the ability to really make sure that the future we live in tomorrow is the future that we're preparing for today, right? Because no matter how we prepare, right, the day you live in tomorrow is, in fact, the day that you created today, right? Now, when AI first got started, you had all the people who were in the investors say, okay, we're going to take a little pause because it's moving too fast, but then we're going to continue, and if things go too far, we're going to make sure that we... One second, my board is going crazy. We're going to make sure that we take the time to really understand that it might need some government oversight, some government impact. Well, I don't think that's happening right now, at least not in our country. We are kind of just advancing at the pace of the linings of people's pockets. And that is not necessarily, I don't want to call it evil, right? But I do want to say that it is short-sighted. Ultimately, the ambitions of individuals who seek to make money will drive technology forward. Ultimately, those ambitions are not coupled with what is necessarily best for people, right? We talk about all of the energy being created for these data centers, right? But that same amount of energy that's being produced for a data center could be produced for your local municipality, right? that same amount of energy that's being used to power someone's question of what should I put on my shopping list could be used to power homes, to lower your electricity bill. But instead, electricity bills are going to go up because as the data center needs no energy, if we can't produce more energy, then that means that supply and demand, energy is going to get more expensive. And on top of energy getting more expensive, I don't know if you noticed, computers and computer parts are also getting more expensive because the data centers need things like RAM and hard drives and servers and all of that to function. And so we've seen prices of things such as RAM, which is, if you don't know what RAM is, we'll get into that in a second, go up from like $100 for a certain amount to $400. That is a big increase, right? If you don't know what RAM is basically your computer's attention span. It's your ability, it gives your computer the ability to do multiple things at once, not be slow and not freeze up. And so RAM isn't just used in like your personal computer, it's used in hospital computers, it's used in navigation computers. AI is creating this big tech bubble where companies are, assuming the profit they'll be able to make from this technology is worth the amount that they're investing in this technology, is worth investing in this technology so they make profit in a big circle in a way that does not necessarily lead to the innovation that we were promised, right? What's that phrase? It's 2026, where's my flying car, right? When you stop and you really start to look at how much our lives have changed since, ChatGPT first became publicly known, since Gemini and Anthropic, Claude GPU and all of that stuff. Like, I'm going to stop saying names before because I'm not getting a check for any of those names. But since AI and general models in general have come, how much has your life actually changed, right? Maybe now, instead of paying a professional to Photoshop that picture of you, you're asking Gemini to I gotta stop saying, they're not paying me, I gotta stop saying their names. But you're using a service to change that photo instead of paying someone, right? Instead of asking someone to write something for you, you're asking the AI to do it. The work didn't change, you just changed how you did it, right? And ultimately, yeah, AI has done some very cool things, right? It's found protein structures that can help make medicines. It's helped help people do calculations to resolve other crises. But on the whole, you're not those people. Has AI actually had a positive impact on your life that's not just generative or imaginative? Ultimately, for me, as someone who does website design and social media management, I find that the work that I would have had someone else do is now work that I can just do faster. Which, if I was that type of person, could stop me from creating jobs, right? But I'm sort of the mindset that, eventually I do want to hire actual people. Now, what those people will do will look a bit differently, right? Because now I can very quickly design an algorithm a lot faster. I can use it to help me write code a lot faster, right? But in terms of creative things like design, I'm still going to go to a person. Not because the AI can't make something that looks fantastic, but because that thing that looks fantastic only looks fantastic to someone who doesn't really know what they're looking at. It's kind of like listening to someone at karaoke night sing a song that you love but no one else knows, right? So imagine your favorite song that no one else knows, someone singing at karaoke night, and they're getting the entire thing just wrong. They're just offbeat, the tone is wrong, the mood is wrong, everything's wrong. and everyone gets up, they chap and they they clap and they cheer. And you're just sitting there like, what was that? That's not how that's supposed to go, right? And so you might not notice how AI is making these little tiny mistakes, but other people do. Other people do. As a Christian, I love the Bible. I love God. I love Scripture. I can tell when you're using AI to like make a sermon. Like, there's not a lot of you. There's some of you. I'm not going to expose you, but I can tell. I don't like it, right? As a tech guy, right? I fix computers and stuff, right? I can tell when you're like when you don't know what you're talking about, and you just put it in your AI. You said, oh yeah, you just keep going like this. People just, those of you on the radio, I'm holding my phone. You look down at your phone and you say, oh yeah, it's the drivers. That's what you got. Come on, listen. If you're not an expert in it, don't trust AI to like make you an expert. You can trust it as a shortcut, but shortcuts don't always get you where you're supposed to go, and sometimes they might take you in a whole different direction. But ultimately, as we continue to like progress with this tool, we're going to learn what to do and what not to do. Right now, definitely don't use it as a friend or a therapist. Use it as an intern. I'm warning anyone who thinks that it might be a good therapist. Don't do that. Don't do that. Again, it is going to reflect back to you the things that it thinks you want to hear, or validate whatever biases it may be unknowingly promoting, right? A therapist has a bit more training to know not to do that, and of course sometimes you're still going to have a few people who aren't good at their job, but AI is not your therapist, it is not your friend, it is an intern. It's an intern that's here to learn as much as it can from you so it can get another job. And ultimately, that is how this works, right? AI does not care about you, does not care about me, does not care about anything. It just does what it's programmed to do. And most of those AI, they're programmed, especially the free ones, they're programmed to keep you using them, because the longer you use them, the more you teach them, right? And honestly, I've only been talking about like the generative AI, the large learning models, right? Where you type something and you get something out. We did not have time to cover today the generative AI that make images and pictures, right? Like right now, if you're watching me on Facebook, I'm not AI. You see all this stuff that I can do, like putting my hands in front of my face and smiling and not looking weird. Not AI, but there are videos out there on the YouTube and on the internet where people look like people and they sound like people, but they're not. And you have to get to the level where you recognize AI as soon as you hear it. Because if you don't, you will be deceived, you will be tricked. And maybe it might be something small, right? Maybe it might be something small, maybe it might be something big. But in a world where there's so much happening in the world today, there's so much going on, you don't want to be on the wrong side of propaganda where you see something, you think it's real, you know it happened, and then you find out it was fake. Or on the flip side, you know something's real, but you can't prove it because there's so much AI garbage out there. I'm Facebook friends with about 1,000 of you, and I've seen a lot of you share things, and I'll usually just write it small. I'm like, hey, maybe check your sources, or I'll slide in your DMs and I'll say, hey, that last post, it was AI. And I really think that we're getting to a point in society that we're back in the dark ages, honestly, right? We have a media literacy that is unbecoming of such a media-centric society. What do I mean by that? I mean that people can see things, they can read them, but not truly understand them at depth. That is what literacy is. Literacy isn't just reading words or understanding words. It's conceptualizing the full idea of a text and of a message. And as media literacy rates go down and fake information goes up, we're going to have a real crisis on our hands on intelligence, critical thinking, and all of these skills. So if you got anything from this message today, I hope you learned what AI is and what it isn't, right? It's a tool. It's not a god. It's not a magician. It's not a genius. It's a tool that reflects the whole of humanity back at you in an attempt to keep you on it so it can get to know you and possibly even replace you, right? And so as you're using it, if you choose to use it, think twice, research beyond the prompt, learn to actually go pages and pages into Google past all the ads and all of that to find scholarly sources, scholarly website. Go to the library, get a book. You know, read beyond just what you want to know. Read beyond that so you can know what you don't know. Because if you don't know what you know to have known, the AI is going to replace a lot of what you think is correct information with factually incorrect information. But that's all the time we have today. I want to thank you all for listening, and I also want to thank you all for your support. Again, we are brought to you by listeners like you. It is your contributions that keep the station going. Every time something happens out there in life, right? You guys are there supporting us, keeping us going. We just got the 88.7 FM signal back running because of your contributions and your donations. So thank you ever so much for those donations, because again, we are Christ-centered, listener supported, Gospel 88.7 and 100.3. We have gospel. Do not forget that you can visit that website, wehavegospel.com, for the latest in the events that we are doing. There are tickets on sale right now for our annual Mother's Day brunch. So if you have not gone, please take your mom. Go buy a ticket right now. Buy a ticket for yourself. Buy a ticket for your mom, your mother-in-law if you have one, your auntie, your other auntie, your auntie who you haven't talked to in a while but you probably should, your grandma, whoever. Go to this event. Buy tickets. And if you can't make it, you know someone who wants to go to that event. You know someone who would be blessed to say, hey, I have an extra ticket. So get your ticket now. If your mom ends up being busy because she's out with her favorite child, that's not a problem that I have to face because my mom loves us all equally. But your mom's out with her favorite child instead, then take someone else's mom who forgot about, right? Because there are moms out there and people who have been mothers who are deserving of love and respect on Mother's Day. And, it's a great event. It is a great event. We host it every year. So if you get a chance, go to www.wehavegospel.com, and there you can get your tickets for our Mother's Day bruncheon. And you can also check out this episode and episodes of everything else that has aired on WEHA. It's a great website, and if you haven't visited it in a while, make sure you do. Don't forget to download our app on iOS and Android. And until the next time, I will see you guys later.